Welcome all to this session on list data type using R programming. So R has another data type called as list. This is something different from the vector data type. In the vector data type, we can have only same type of element. That is, if you have numbers, you can have only numbers throughout. If you have boolean, you can have only boolean throughout. If you have character, you can have only character throughout. But in the list data type, you can have each entry as a different data type. Okay, so the first element of a list can be a vector, and the second element can be a matrix, and third element can also be a list itself. List can contain list itself. Okay, so that is the difference between vector data type and list data type. Okay, so see here you are declaring the vector the list L, which is having two elements. The first element is a vector of numbers, that is 91470. Then you have the matrix with the values 1 2 3 4 5 6, and the number of rows of the matrix is 3. So you are declaring this list. So when you type L here, you can see there are two entries in the list. The first element in the list is a vector, which is numbers 91470, and the second element in the list is a matrix which has 3 rows and 2 columns. Okay, so for this list elements, you can give names. The first element you can give it as number, and the second element you can give it as matrix. Okay, so that is what I am doing here using the names function. So now if you print L and C, you can see the names of the entries of the list. The first one is called as $num, and the second one is called as $mat. Okay, so now we can also declare the list along with the names of the entries in a single definition like this: L assignment list of number is equal to C 91470, comma, mat equal to matrix C of 1 2 3 4 5 6, and n row is equal to 3. So if you give like this, automatically L will be having two elements. First one is the vector and the second one is a matrix. For the first element you give the name as num, and for the second element you give the name as matrix. So I am running this and I am typing L and seeing. So again I can see two elements. The first element name is num and the second element name is matrix. Okay, so and next we have the function is dot atomic. Okay, so it means that whether the value within this function, that is list, I'm giving list of this list is atomic or not. Atomic means list should be having the same type of elements. That is, number means number, character means character. But list is not atomic because it can have any type of data inside the list. So if I give is dot atomic of list, it will return false because it is not atomic. Okay, similarly if you are going to give is dot recursive dot list, it is going to give me true because list can have another list inside. It is possible to have recursive list inside. So it is this is dot recursive of list will return true. Okay, similarly if I say is dot atomic of L, because L is a list, this is going to again return false because it is not atomic, and is dot recursive of L is going to return true because it is recursive. L is recursive, it can have another list inside. L is a list. Okay, so this is about the functions atomic, is dot atomic, and is dot recursive. Okay, so but if you see for the matrix, is dot atomic of a matrix will be true because in a matrix all the elements are numbers. Okay, it is atomic. Okay, and for is dot recursive of matrix will be false because you cannot have a matrix within a matrix. So S dot recursive of a matrix is false. Okay. So this is about the S dot recursive and S dot atomic functions. So next we are going to see about the function length. So length of the list L. Okay. So list L had two elements. The first one is the vector and the second one is a matrix. So length of L will be 2. So it has two elements, so length of L will be true. Since L, that the list is not a matrix, this dim of L will not return anything, it will return null. And n row of L also will return null. And n column of L will also return null because L is not a matrix. This dim n row and n column is applicable only for a matrix. Okay, so this dim n row and n column will not work for a list. So next we are having a list L1 which is having three elements. The first element is a vector 8, 9, 1 and the second element is a matrix 1, 2, 3, 4 arranged in two rows and the third element is again a list. So it is a list of lists. Okay. So again a list. Inside this list you have two elements, that is L31 is C of A comma B and L32 is equal to C of true comma false. That is this inside list is having two elements. The first element is a vector of character and the second element is a vector of boolean. Okay, so you are giving the names for the first element as L1 and the second element as L2 and third element as L3 and the list L3 is having two elements L31 and L32. So now I am going to declare this L1. So I am going to type L1. So it is listing three elements. The first element is L1 which is a vector 8, 9, 1 and the second element is a matrix L2 and the third element is a list itself which is L3, so which has two components A and B. L31 and L32. L31 has the values A and B and L32 has the value true and false. Okay, so this is how you can declare a list within a list. Okay, suppose if you are going to see the first two elements of a list, if you want to extract the first two elements of a list L1, you can give L1 within the bracket 1 is to 2. Okay, so it means that it is going to extract the first two elements of the list. The first two elements of the list are, the first one is a vector and the second one is a matrix. Okay, so next if you have L1 is equal to minus 3, so again also it is going to extract only the first two columns, that is 1 and 2. It is going to leave out the third column. Okay, so it is going to give the same result, that is the first and the second element L1 and L2 are displayed. The same thing can be achieved using L1 is equal to C of L1 comma L2. You can give the names of the list element inside the list L1 and you can fetch the elements which you want. Okay, so now here also you can see you get L1 and L2, the two elements are returned. Okay, the same thing can be achieved using this syntax also, that is L1 C true, true, false. It means that you are going to fetch the first element, second element and not the third element, because you are giving false for the third element. Okay, so if you run this also you get the same result. The first element L1 and the second element L2 is fetched. Okay, so what we have seen so far, so we have seen how to declare a list with two elements, one is the vector and the other one is a matrix, and how to give names for the elements of the list, and how to use the is atomic is recursive function for list, and how to use atomic is atomic and is recursive function for a matrix, then how to use the length of a list, and whether the dim n row and n column function works for a list. It will not work. Then how to declare another list which is having one of the element as the list itself. It's a recursive definition of list. Okay, and how to fetch the individual elements of the list using the square bracket 1:2. It means that you are fetching the columns 1 and 2. If you give -3, it is going to leave out the third column and it is going to fetch only 1 and 2. And you can fetch the columns using its names also, or you can fetch the columns using the boolean vector true, 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 false. Okay, so this is what we have seen so far in the list data type. So we have seen about the list data type so far, and we are going to extend on that. Say suppose we have the variable a, b and d. A is a vector of numbers and b is a vector of characters and d is a vector of boolean data type. Now I am going to create a list with these three variables a, b and d as the variable t. So t is nothing but the list of a, b, d and one more element which is a single element, that is 5. Okay, so let me run these things. Let me run these syntaxes. So I'm creating a vector of numbers. I'm creating b, a vector of characters, and I'm creating d, a vector of boolean data type. So then I'm creating a list t with the combination of a, b, d and another element 5. So now I'm going to fetch the second element of the list t using the command t square bracket 2. So it is going to fetch the second element. The second element is nothing but the vector of character variables, that is the b. The b is nothing but the vector of character elements. So that is the second element of the list t. So that is fetched here. So suppose now if you want to fetch the second and the fourth element of the list, you have to give t square bracket c of 2 comma 4. That is, it is going to combine the second and the fourth element. It is going to list the second and the fourth element. See here, you can see the second element a, b, c, d, e, f, g, h, i, j, k, l, m, n, o. This is the second element and 5 is the fourth element of the list. So both are displayed. Now suppose if you are giving t double square bracket 2. So it means it is going to display the elements of the second element of the list t. In t, the second element is b. T is a list whose second element is b. B is nothing but a vector of characters. So since I am giving t double square bracket 2, it is listing each character of the second element, that is a, b, c, d, e, f, g, h, i, j, k, l, m, n, o. Okay. So now I am going to change the third component of the second element. So the second element is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L and M, N, O. So in this I am going to change the value of the second component of the second element, that is D, E, F. Instead of D, E, F, I am going to replace it with Q, Q, Q. Okay, so for that I am giving t double square bracket 2 and a single square bracket 1. Sorry, I am going to replace the first element of the vector b. I am not going to change in the vector b, I am going to change in the list t. In the list t, the second element, the first component is going to be changed, that is ABC is going to be changed to Q. Q, Q, Q. Okay, so I am running this. Okay, so now it is changed. Now I am displaying the elements of the second element of the list t. See here, it is listing the first element as QQQ. and DEF, GHI, JKL and MNO. Okay, so but this will not replace the element in the vector B, the original vector B. The original vector B will be as it is, that is, it will be having ABC, DEF, GHI, JKL and MNO. Okay. Okay, so and next now we are going to create another list with two elements. The first one is a vector of numbers and the second one is a vector of characters. First is the name of the first element, second is the name of the second element. So L is the name of the list. Okay, so now I am displaying L. So L is displaying the first element using dollar first and the second element using dollar second. So this first element can be accessed using the syntax L square bracket within quotes, within double quotes first. It is going to fetch the first element of the list. Next, the same thing L dollar first can be used to fetch the same first element. Okay, so to fetch the element of a list, either we can use a square bracket or we can use the dollar symbol. Okay, so and if you are giving double square bracket, it means it is going to list the elements of the first element. Okay, so first is the name of the first element. So if I am giving double square bracket, it is going to list the elements of the first element. So that is 1, 2 and 3 are listed. Okay, so now I am creating a vector V with numbers 7, 3, 9, 2, 6, and I can convert this vector into a list using the command as.list. So a vector can be converted using as.list function. A vector can be converted into a list. Okay, see here now it is displaying as a list. Since I am giving as.list, it is displaying as a list. 7 is the first element of the list, 3 is the second element of the list, 9 is the third element, 2 is the fourth element, and 6 is the sixth element of the list, fifth element of the list. Okay. So now we are going to create another list L, which is a list of again numbers. Okay, so this list is having the same type of element, all numbers. Okay, so such a list can be changed into a vector using as.numeric function. Okay, so a list with the same type of numbers can be changed into a vector of numbers using as.numeric function. Okay, see here this as.numeric function is returning a vector 3, 7, 8, 12 and 14. Okay, so now I'm going to create another list L1, which is a vector which is a combination of elements of character. Okay, so now I'm displaying L1. So it is displaying the three elements AAA, BBB and CCC. So now this list of characters can be converted into a vector of characters using as.character function, as we did for numeric using as.numeric function. We are going to change this as character vector using as.character. Okay, see here it is returning the vector A, B, B, B and C, C, C. Earlier it was a list, now it is a vector. Okay, the way it is displaying shows whether it is a list or a vector. Okay, so next let me create a list with two elements L1 and L2. L1 is again a vector a number of 3 elements, and L2 is a vector numeric vector of size 5. Okay, so I am creating L1. So and I am displaying L1. So it is displaying the first vector 78, 90, 21, the second vector 11, 22, 33, 44 and 55. Okay, so now if I give unlist of L1, that is if I am going to change the list as a separate element, I am going to remove the list from the from L1. I am going to remove the elements of L1 and making it as individual elements. For that I am using the function unlist of L1. So see here it is listing each element as one component. Okay, so 78 is one component, 90, 21, again 11, 22, 33, 44. So no longer it is a list. Okay, so it is unlisting. It is displaying individual components. Okay, the list. So now I am creating another list L1, which is again the same thing, which is having L1 and L2 as the components. Two numeric vectors are there, and again I am having a second list L2, which is a list of characters. I can combine this L1 and L2 using the C command, C function, C within bracket L1 and L2. This will combine both L1 and L2. So L1's first two elements will be combined with L2's first element. So totally it will be having three elements. The first one is nothing but the vector of numbers 78, 90, 21. The second element is 11, 22, 33, 44, 55. And the third element is actually, okay, so actually it is not going to combine it as a third element alone. A is the third element, B is the fourth element, C is the fifth element. So totally there are 5 elements when you combine L1 and L2. So L1 has 2 elements and L2 has 3 elements. So totally you will be having 5 elements when you combine L1 and L2. This is how the list operations are working. Okay. Hope you have a clear idea about the list data type now. Okay. Thank you.